Hello everyone, this is SWTOR Snoopy here, back with another video. Today we're going to be doing a Star Wars Old Republic discussion video talking about the topic of returning to the game. So I recently returned to the game and I want to create an open dialogue to talk about things that I've noticed and be open about a time that I'm sure many players have experienced, even in games not related to Star Wars. Throughout this discussion, I will have talking points which will be timestamped in the description of this video. This will help with following the video and finding something in particular that I talk about. Now, that's all I have for this intro, so I hope you guys enjoy this video. If you do, then make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and let's get right into this discussion. Alrighty guys, let's get into this discussion right now. So I'm going to have 5 talking points in this video. So the first one is going to be look at what's new. So as you guys know, I recently came back to the game, and one thing that I've really started to focus on and notice is that looking at what's new is probably the best way to start things off if you are returning to the game. This is mainly due to the fact that when you go to the game and return, there's going to most likely be some changes to note or things to essentially focus on. Now, obviously, it just depends on when you come back. I mean, for example, when I have returned at the time of recording this video, it has been, or it's essentially patch point 5.1. They've changed some guild things, added new gear. So there is some content that has been added. But obviously, if you came back during the time of something like an expansion, then you're going to have a lot of content to deal with and a lot of stuff to really notice. And I think that is something that is always good. I mean, even still, if it's not as much content as you want, obviously that will be a little annoying, but once again, it is always important to essentially just look at all the stuff they have added since, like I said, I mean, that seems to be pretty important just depending on what level you are, along with a bunch of different stuff. And I mean, the biggest thing, even with this video, with just looking at what's new, is, like I said, you can go to other people, you can clearly look at the patch notes. There's a lot of things to just help keep you updated. I know that there is the Star Wars Old Republic subreddit. That's also a very great place to start if you just want to kind of catch up and see what's changed. But like I said, if you want to find stuff that's changed, probably the easiest thing is going to the official Star Wars Old Republic website, looking at the patch notes, just finding the stuff there, and then also the Star Wars Old Republic subreddit, because people are very willing to help and are friendly there if you are returning to the game. So that's going to be it for the first talking point, just very straightforward. And then the next talking point is going to be number 2, get readjusted to gameplay and characters. Now, I'm currently doing this right now since I haven't been in the game for essentially about 4 months. So it is taking some time to just remember all the stuff that I can use just with all the different characters. Because obviously if you have one character, it's not too bad because I normally main my commando. But if you have a couple, alternate characters, for example, like the one I'm currently on, then you have to get readjusted to the specs that you have. Just all the different abilities that are available and just everything in general. Also, if you do a PvP, stuff that's ranked along with just operations, just all that endgame stuff, you are going to need to, of course, get prepared for that, since that is very, very important. That's one thing that I'm already having to essentially do. I think that's something that a lot of people can relate to when they are returning. Is of course you do have to just get readjusted to all the stuff that you missed, and that's something that is I think is pretty important to consider, since a lot of players, just no matter what, are most likely going to return to the game at some point. They're going to leave and then return later, since obviously people don't want to stay on a game when there's not as much content, and then people are more willing to return when something has been added or they have reasons to play the game. I think that's the biggest thing with this game in general, is I feel like if you take a small break and then you get readjusted to the gameplay and stuff, it adds for a more enjoyable time. You can refuel, just get prepared for playing again, because honestly with this game, I feel like it's something that is very fun, but at the same time you can get burnt out very, very quickly. So kind of I feel like that rebuilding phase is a pretty good, at least in my opinion. Honestly, I'm not sure what you guys think, but I feel like that rebuilding phase is always very, very fun, just to help with burnout and all the different stuff that come with playing a game. So now we're going to move on to number 3 for talking points, and that's going to be find players slash reunite with guilds. So if you were in a guild before you left, obviously it's probably going to be in your best interest to just reunite with that guild. I know that the guild that I'm in, Tragic Heroes, is just still running, doing operations and all that different stuff, and I was still in the guild on my commando, so I was just perfectly fine with that. But obviously, if you're not in a guild or you have a bunch of friends that you played with, obviously you do want to reunite with them and find them. So that is something that is very, very good. Honestly, in my opinion, that is probably the best aspect of just playing an MMO. Even though this game does have, I gotta say, at least in my opinion, it does have a lot of issues just with kind of deciding what game it wants to be. But for the most part, with the multiplayer aspects it does have, I feel like it is probably like one of the biggest thing is to, find those players. But yeah, finding those players and just reuniting with the people is always important to me, at least, because like I said, even though this game is, even though a lot of people could argue and debate if it's just essentially a single player game at some points and not really an MMO, which I've done as well, because like I said, there's a lot of things to consider with this game, just with how they run it. But still, I feel like that aspect of just going with people, just playing with them, and just joining in on a bunch of different stuff is very, very exciting. I mean, one example of this is I recently, I essentially went to the new planet with patch 5.1, and with that new planet, they do have 2 new world bosses, and I actually joined a group that did the world bosses, so that was very exciting. Well, I didn't really know any of the players inside that group. Something as simple as that, just finding players, that just made a good experience, because I already just returned to the game, and I was just able to do something that was fun and new for me. And I think that is something to just look at. And it doesn't even matter if you are a returning player or not. I think that's one thing I do want to make clear with this discussion while I'm leaving it essentially open, is that I feel like with some of these things, it can be even applied if you just are playing the game currently. Because, like I said, I feel like it's always important to just try and find new players, because you really can just make the game much more enjoyable, more than it already is. Now, that's going to lead us to number 4 in talking points, and that is going to be discover something new. Now, this is something that I've always struggled with because I've always just kept to the same exact, fundamentals of the game. You had to do your dailies, you have your operations, you have your PvP. You kind of get stuck in this little trance, I feel like, where you're just constantly doing the same exact thing. And there is nothing wrong with that, obviously, just, doing the same exact thing if you want to do it. But I feel like something that is good is to discover something new. So, if you weren't a ranked PvPer, maybe try to, just put up ranked PvP just to see how it is. If you didn't do the Master Mode chapters just for the game, just with the Knights of the Fallen Empire and Eternal Throne, that could be something that's useful. I mean, there's a lot of options with this game just to consider, because, like I said, it is a pretty large game in the grand scheme of things. Now, obviously, just on different game aspects, it's entirely different with the amount of content they have, but there is still quite a lot of things to do. So I feel like discovering something new and trying something new is good. Even if you aren't returning, you just played the game for a while, this is something that I'm definitely going to pick up just with the game, is trying to do something fun. So, and that's going to lead me to the final talking point, which is going to be very simple, just enjoy. And when I say enjoy, I just mean just, find interest with the game, try to enjoy it to the best of your ability. Since, like I said, game burnout is never fun, and obviously you want to enjoy a game, you want to have fun with it, and that is personally something that I'm going to do. But I feel like a lot of returning players and, just new players, just every player alike, can most likely agree that if you're not having fun with the game, then you shouldn't play it. And obviously, the main goal here is to enjoy the game and have fun. So I feel like just, incorporating all these different things, at least in my eyes, will always, just help with that aspect, and will definitely make your experience much, much better. So that's how I'm going to essentially leave this Star Wars Pro discussion video. Just a very, kind of like laid back video, just kind of discussing, just returning to the game and just some of the talking points that I feel like are pretty important when it comes down to that topic. So I hope you guys enjoyed this Star Wars Pro discussion video. As always, if you guys enjoyed these videos, then make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one.